Hi, and welcome to CrewConnect TV. We're here today with Andreas Nordseth from Danish Maritime Authority. Andreas, so nice to have you here.
Thank you.
So, this morning you gave us a presentation on the future of the seafarers. But before we talk about them, could I just ask you to define what you mean by the future?
Well, I would say the future, I think it's undefinable, but to me, instead of talking about a specific future, to me it's more like seeing what kind of trends is driving, what's developing the industry right now, and also the seafarers. When I say future of the seafarers, future of the industry, I take very much into consideration and focus very much on so what's driving change right now. Because I think all experience shows that if you become sort of too specific and say this is the future, then next year something happens and it doesn't turn out like that. So that's why I prefer very much to say when you're talking about future, it's more like you can talk about scenarios, but also talk about trends.
I think you mentioned a couple of these trends in your presentation, technological and regulatory as well. So obviously on the regulatory side, it's the environmental issues that are the most prominent at the moment. But on the technology side, you mentioned, I think, 3D printing, AI, and it's all to do with improving safety. So how do you see these trends and events shaping the future of the industry?
I would say what I think is very important is that at this point in time, we are facing what I would say a possible technology jump. And a technology jump is, in my view, a very, very big thing. It's really, people talk about disruption, but I prefer to say a technology jump. And to me, a technology jump is something that completely changes the way that you work. In the maritime industry, we only had two previously. So we had when we sort of went from wind power, that is sailing vessels, to engine-driven vessels. That completely changed the way you work on board ships. Then we had containerization, which maybe did not change so much on board the ship, but the whole transport chain, the logistic chain was changed completely. And now we have what we call digitalization, and that is sort of using data, using artificial intelligence. But we should also remember that it's not only about software, there's also a hardware dimension, because it's a part of the digital technology. We have what we call 3D printing, which actually means a lot of different things, but it's all that you can actually produce things that you would never ever be able to produce locally before. And these things gives us the opportunity to make things much better, smarter, safer, more efficient, cheaper. There's so many positive things to say about it. So I have no doubts that at some point in future, it's definitely a trend. It pushes, and we will be drawn to it. So I would think that that's a very, very important driver for change that we are facing right now. But I say that we are at a possible technology jump because it's still, we have 90,000 ships, 1.5 million seafarers. So it's like, it doesn't change overnight. But I would guess that in the very near future, it could be 3 months, 6 months, 1 year from now, something will happen, something will be introduced, and that will be the first actual change that will lead to quicker change, and it will then move in exponential speed. So I would say that we are at some point in the near future, something will happen, I'm quite sure. Yeah.
So let's talk about the seafarer of the future then. So we've got all these large forces shaping this industry. How does that translate to a seafarer's everyday life?
I would say in the short run, I think actually that the life will be easier. And we're talking the working life. We know for a fact that one of the most most often heard complaints from seafarers is the administrative burdens. They are drowning in paperwork. And actually, if you take a captain on board any given ship, he really spends a lot of his time on paperwork. And I think that we will see in, again, near future, that will change. That will simply be reduced. I think all that can be considered trivial data that's already accessible from other places will just be made will be exchanged automatically. So I think that these ships, the seafarers, then will in the near future, they will feel a change. We will we will start to develop the industry towards a sort of more paperless industry. So I would say that that's on the short run. On the longer run, and then we're talking next generation of seafarers or the coming generations, I think we will see a change in the working functions. Very traditionally we have sort of three categories of seafarers. We have a deck department, then we have engine department, and then we have catering department. And I think these departments are facing a dissolution. It will sort of dissolve into more sort of multi-flexible things, so that in the future, a person like yourself, if you were a seafarer, you would be, you would be able to do everything. So I think it will influence seafarers' working life and any day operation. But I think also at the same time it will become much more interesting. If you look at the young people of today and also the future, they have so many opportunities, and to some extent, if you look at shipping, it's very much. And I say there's a great respect because I'm an ex-seafarer myself. I have a great veneration for seafaring, but it's to some extent very old-fashioned. Again, these old departments, like a deck officer as a deck officer cannot be discussed if he or she can do anything else. So I think young people of the future want more flexibility. They want more opportunities, and I think that we are moving into a development of the industry that actually will provide that. Yeah.
And I believe that's what you refer to as maybe like a hybrid seafarer of the future in your presentation.
Yeah. Today we will call it a hybrid seafarer, but the interesting thing is that in the future there will be sort of that's what you do. Is that is seafaring, and I would, if I look into the crystal ball and make a guess of the future, that would be my guess. Yeah.
So would that mean, from a training perspective? Would that mean that seafarers have to be trained in more areas than they are now?
That is a very, very good question. I'm not sure I have a complete answer, but I think that we will see training programs in the future that are much more modularized. That means sort of everybody have some basic training, because again, safety at sea is very much the same regardless of what you're going to do on board the ship. And then I think you can sort of build upon, you can expand if you want to have more engineering of some kind, or repairing, or maintenance, or controlling. You can sort of put things together, and you can return to academy, maybe take 3 months courses. That would be my guess on the way to cope with that, because otherwise it's impossible for an academy or training system to embrace this diversity. So we simply need to start to think in a different structure than we do today. Today, I think also most academies is very much, you are either a cadet on that line or student of that major. I think we will need to see a more flexible planning and structure of the studies. Yeah. But it's doable, I think. Yeah.
Andreas, thank you very much for being here with us.
Thank you so much. Pleasure. Thank you.